My amplified units, salute! In baseball terms, WWE is putting themselves into what we call a pickle situation, where Cody Rhodes has 3 possible opponents for WrestleMania, and by now it is unfortunately abundantly clear he's got to drop the title at WrestleMania. The 3 possible opponents, Roman Reigns, The Rock, or Randy Orton, but only one of those 3 names makes any sense whatsoever. We'll talk all about it in this very upload. We're also going to discuss Charlotte Flair. Her return plans have been pulled, or at least her initial return plans pulled. So now it looks like WWE is going to make the same mistake yet again, and they're going to bring her back in a situation where they should not be doing that. We'll talk all about it and what many of us believe to be Charlotte Flair's return, where, when, and how. And it's just not good. It's not going to benefit Charlie or the company. But we're going to talk about it in this upload. We're also going to discuss a name that many individuals know very well, and they think that this female should have already had a big WWE run, or a big chance in like an AEW. And then the other half of the fans have maybe never heard of this female. But we do have a big update on Tessa Blanchard. That's coming up in this upload. What else? Also, CM Punk. CM Punk has a request. He's not too happy with a sector of fans. So he is asking, some would say politely, others maybe not so politely. We'll go over his exact quote. But he has a request from a certain type of fan. CM Punk. We'll talk that later as well, or coming up in this upload. Also, a lot of backlash, still a ton of backlash from AEW All Out, and the violence perhaps too extreme. Jon Moxley and Danielson, and a lot of people talking out about it, like Mercedes Moné. Bischoff has his input. Thunder Rosa is kind of defending it. Mercedes is not a fan of it. Bischoff is being Bischoff. We'll talk about all that. But still to this day, man, it's still being heavily discussed. Is that like the line? Is there just no longer a place for it? We'll talk that for sure. We'll give you an exact quote from Mercedes, Thunder, Bischoff, just to give you a little bit of a microcosm of the larger discussion at hand. So all of that is coming up, guys, on this, Monday, September 16th, 2024. All the latest in the pro wrestling world. BC's got you covered. And we are calling this week on the channel Member and Subscriber Appreciation Week. That's right. BC doesn't always get to do live streams, not often anyway. But that's changing this week. For this week, I'm going to throw a bunch of live streams at you guys, starting tonight for my channel members. I may make it open for everybody to view and listen to, but the chat will be open for my channel members. Right before Raw tonight, a little bit of a preview, and for the first half an hour of Raw, BC will be live on the channel. So any channel members, anybody with a gold card, or that amplified star, I don't think we're doing the gold coffees yet. That's 2 years plus of membership, but I don't think we've had membership for 2 years. I think we're a couple months off still. So any of the gold cards, any of those amplified gold stars, any channel member, if you got a moment, stop by the chat tonight during the first half an hour of Raw, and at least a half an hour before, at least, for a little bit of a preview to Raw. But that will be for my channel member. Again, we could open it up for everybody to listen to or view right here on the channel, but only channel members will be up in the chat and able to chat. That's my way to thank you guys and show that appreciation to another level by opening up the chat to channel members only. So that's tonight. That's going to be really cool. Starting tomorrow for like the Raw review, I hope to do that live sometime between 11 and 12 a.m. Eastern time. You guys should be able to catch that live stream. That'll be open to anybody subscribed 4 weeks or more. So you don't have to be a channel member for that. 4 weeks or more member or subscription will get you into that chat tomorrow. And then Wednesday, I think I'm going to throw another live stream, probably around the same time, maybe a little before noontime, but after 11 a.m.-ish. Thursday, hopefully live as well, but at least a pre-record. But Thursday, we'll keep it going, the momentum. And Friday, same thing, around 11 a.m., 12 noon Eastern time, another live stream for my subscribers. So all week, there's going to be a bunch of live streams. They will not have any, there won't be any forewarning to them. There won't be any, BC's live in 20 minutes. There's not going to be any countdown, anything like that. It's going to be a pop-up live stream, guys. It's just no minutes of notice. There'll be no notice, man. I'm just literally going live, and hopefully you guys got that notification. That's why you got to be subscribed and notified no matter what. Otherwise, you're just going to be checking every 2 minutes. And that's, you don't have to do that. Save yourself the work smarter, not harder. Just be subscribed and notified. You guys will know when BC is live because there'll be no notice. I'm just going live. That's tonight. That's tomorrow. That's Wednesday. Thursday, hopefully, but at least a pre-record on Thursday. Thursday's really busy, but I'll try to go live. But you'll get content no matter what. And then Friday, live. But each one of them is just going to be live. That's it. No notice. So you talk about spontaneous, but that's the only way we could do it, man. Whenever I have like an hour, I'm setting it up and going live. So that's a programming note. Had to take a few minutes to let my unit, my members and my subscribers know that this week is thanking you guys. And I do thank you very much. Subscribing to this channel, that is such a big respect over to BC, and I want you to know that is reciprocated. And if you're a channel member, that's a next level of not just appreciation, but support to the channel. To chuck a coffee at the channel every month, it's never needed. It's always appreciated. And before we get into these stories, and actually, from one of these super thanks is we're going to go to our big story, the Cody Rhodes situation. Who's taking the title off of him? It's got to be at Mania. He's got to lose the title. There's 3 viable options, but only one makes sense. And we're going to have that discussion stemming from one of these super thankses, because I do want to acknowledge and appreciate and give that thanks right back to a couple of channel members, not just subscribers. And over a year of membership too. Sam Byers and Dave Mealy. Both channel members for well over a year. And in my last upload, the SmackDown review, which thank you guys. What a response from that. You guys really enjoyed that. We're captivated by that review. I loved cutting it, man. That was raw emotion. That was the amplification meter pumped up to 20 and beyond. And we just got amplified, man. That was one of the better rants on the channel in a long time. I'm glad you guys enjoyed that and were captivated by that. But in that review for that SmackDown show, in the comments, you guys dropped some super thanks, super chat coffees. Sam Byers just saying thanks. Sam Byers, thank you, dude. Always love seeing Sam Byers pop up because usually there's not a lot of words being given. He's just chucking coffees at the channel. So every time I see Sam Byers, maybe you'll get a thanks. But usually he's just chucking coffees like snowballs. Sam Byers, I appreciate you big time. And big shout out to Dave Mealy. A couple of $5 Booker T super thanks, super chats. And Dave has a couple of things to say here. First of all, Dave says, here's an idea for the theme song for SmackDown, the Seinfeld theme song. The song from a show about nothing being the theme song for a show that does nothing. LOL. Dave, you've been with the channel a while. I think I literally put that in like the caption or the headline or a thumbnail once about SmackDown. Or maybe it was Monday Night Raw. But literally, the word said something about a show about nothing. And I had Seinfeld in my dome piece when I thought of that. Because it's along the same things. It's a show about nothing most of the time. The difference is Seinfeld was entertaining. WWE shows, we can't always say that. So, yeah, that popped BC when I read that, Dave. And Dave also says TNA's Victory Road kicked SmackDown's ass last night. Hendry tapping out Josh Alexander and Moose versus Nick Nemeth stole the show. Last night's show was a gigantic letdown, meaning SmackDown. The steel cage match was absolutely uneventful. Plus, not only did Cody initially say that he wanted nothing to do with the bloodline, but then he agrees to join Roman a few minutes later. Not only does Cody look like a complete wuss, but now he's an indecisive wuss. The only way that this could have been rectified would have been to have Cody wait a while to change his mind. But wait, that's a heel move. Papa H is cooking all right. He's cooking jailhouse slop. So pretty much, Dave, that's going to lead us into this conversation, actually. The whole Cody Rhodes Roman thing, it doesn't make sense. It wasn't well thought out. You thought they were going to make like a big story out of this, but first problem is Bad Blood is literally in a couple of weeks, so they didn't give themselves enough time. That's their issue. You want a pay-per-view, PLE, whatever you want to call it, every single month, sometimes twice a month. Well, you're going to run into issues where you should have a really kick-ass, long storyline, but the calendar doesn't allow that because you did not book properly. So here we are with just a couple weeks. They got to throw Cody and Roman together in one show. Otherwise, this might have worked, right? Cody was very sincere to Nick Aldis. I'm done with the bloodline. Thank you. No, thank you. I'm not signing that contract. Less than an hour later, he's signing the contract because the bloodline was, and Cody came down to help Roman. I thought you were, it doesn't make any sense, but most of the things that Hunter does, and this is why people don't understand this, it's not putting a spin on what Hunter is doing at all. We're just dropping fact after fact. Most of the things that Hunter Hearst Helmsley does, they have no purpose. It doesn't make sense, and it has the adverse effect. It's actually making a lot of these wrestlers look like idiots. I bring up all the time the Austin Theory thing from last year, cashing in his briefcase on a mid-card title that he already held 3 times in the previous months, in the middle of a Monday Night Raw, and losing the match. And then months later talking about, or right after saying he cashed in because on the mid-card title because he wasn't going to beat Roman. Let's be honest. Nobody's beating Roman right now, and I wasn't going to. But then a few months later, he says, I want to be in the Royal Rumble for a chance to face Roman Reigns for the title. But you had the briefcase. Why would you have to now put yourself in a situation where you got to take out 29 other dudes just to get the same opportunity you already had with the briefcase that you said you didn't want? That changed in 2 months? I hope that makes sense. It doesn't make sense. You knew in advance that Rock and Roman was happening at Mania, but yet Hunter still decided to have Cody win the Royal Rumble, muddying the waters and turning the whole company upside down. Half the fan base started crying about a match that is happening and shouldn't be happening. Cody's got to be in it. It was... So, guys, these are just a couple of 100 examples already. A Damage Control being out-heeled by Sonya's group when they debuted. Why would they go after the heels of Damage Control when you need to build them up? And that was in a match where they just beat the faces, Valkyria and her team. And then after the match, Damage Control just got beat up. They got out-heeled to the point where they turned face, I guess, that night. And now they're about to be out-faced because their feud right now that they have Damage Control and Io and Kari, they're in a little story with Jade and Bianca. So they turned Damage Control face just to go into another face feud. Or to a face feud. So they got out-heeled and they're about to be out-faced. This makes no sense, man. And you could go on and on and on. This makes no sense. Cody, he's always booking Cody to look like an idiot. I don't know if there's like a little subconscious, like, or maybe it's just up front. A little sabotage for in AEW. Remember what do you call that, man? The sledgehammer through Triple H's throne in AEW? Yeah, Hunter knows that. So even though they let bygones be bygones, they're in a much better place now. You know, you got to wonder some of these decisions, the things they have Cody doing. It's so bad. So anyway, Dave, they come together on Friday night and they're going to be, this is what we didn't want, right? When Roman comes back, we talked about it several times. And that whole time that Roman was away, we hope that he doesn't come back and just have a bunch of tag matches with Cody for the rest of the year. And it looks like that's what we're going to do for this pay-per-view. Obviously, Survivor Series, they'll throw some more people on his team. We'll do War Games Survivor Series. On SmackDown, you'll probably see Roman, and whenever Roman does show up, Roman and Cody will be tag teaming the Gorillas of Destiny. So it'll be Jacob Fatu and Solo at Bad Blood, Gorillas of Destiny, maybe before or right after or leading into Survivor Series. This is what we were hoping didn't happen because it's the bare minimum of creativity and it's just not fun. You know, everyone says it's a different era, it's a different time now. All right, then progress your storytelling. Simplistic Hulk Hogan and Warrior tag teaming, or Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage, or Randy Savage and Warrior tag teaming. Can they coexist? You might have to get a lot better now. There's no might, you have to. So Dave, anyway, long-winded response to that super thanks super chat, but I appreciate you big time. And that does lead us into the big topic of Cody Rhodes dropping that title at Mania. We know he has to, right? Most of the wrestling community is talking about how this title reign is not living up to the expectation. BC could have told you that. Him not winning at 39 threw everything off kilter. So waiting a whole year to do the same thing that should have happened in 39, what do you guys think was going to happen? And just like 39, after 40, Roman left anyway. So Cody was forced to feud with what? A bootlegged bloodline, right? A dollar store version of the bloodline. That's all he was doing for the whole summer. And going into fall, now that Roman's back, Cody is going to play second fiddle to Roman. We all know that. Roman is the top face now. Cody has just been booted to number 2, relegated. Delegated. Number 2. So now they're just going to tag up the 1 and 2 faces, and SmackDown is already hurting from lacking of heels. So they're just having Solo and Jacob Fatu thrown together, take out the top 2 faces, and they're hoping that SmackDown will be different on the USA Network than it was on Fox. No, you still have the same issues. Where's the big heels to take on Cody Rhodes? We're really only hoping for what? The Rock to come back? Because there's 3 options to face Cody Rhodes at Mania. It's going to be Roman Reigns in a rematch, the third Mania in a row. So it'll be face versus face this time. Try to recreate WrestleMania 6 Hogan and Warrior. Or The Rock, because The Rock and Cody had a thing before Rock took off back to Hollywood. Or the third option, and the one that makes the only amount of sense, Randy Orton. It's clear they're prolonging the Orton turn, right? Orton and Cody has to happen. That's the way Randy has to turn heel, and Randy does have to turn heel, by the way. This version of Randy Orton is hard to watch. For an entire year, basically, he's tagging up with Matt Riddle, the 420 bros, and they become a laughingstock in the company. And then he has the bad back anyway, right? That was to help Randy Orton because he had a bad back, so put him in a tag team, alleviate some of the stress and pressure. He ends up hurting his back anyway. So he becomes a lesser version of what we remembered, and he still hurt his back. When he comes back, he's basically on a losing streak or just booked as a mid-AF individual. You're throwing him from SmackDown, losing his matches. Then when you have nothing for him, you have him do a run-in at SummerSlam. Doesn't even have a match at SummerSlam. Does a run-in during the main event with Kevin Owens. And then as a consolation prize, they give him a main event title match at the next pay-per-view. But they had no plan for it. So they just plucked him from SmackDown, placed him on Raw, had him get beat by Gunther, had him sit out for a week or 2, and then he comes back as a mystery partner this past Friday for Kevin Owens. Right back in the same position he was months ago, tag teaming with Kevin Owens. Where is the legend killer? Where's that Viper? Where's the Randy Orton that we once placed on the top of this company, or at least one of the individuals? Because right now he's beyond forgettable. Last Friday, nobody was going, where's Randy? In fact, unfortunately, most people didn't even care. Randy Orton has to turn. Right there, we see too many face and heel turns these days. I feel Hunter just kind of uses them as a crutch. Right? because there's nothing there for the individual. There's no reaction. It's going to take a lot of work. They get lazy, and Hunter just says, let's turn them. Just turn them. So everybody is turning face these days. Everybody is turning heel. But a select few actually have to. Randy Orton's one of them. And we all know how it has to happen. Randy and Cody Rhodes. So they didn't want to do it for Bad Blood. That would have solved a lot of issues, and you could have The Rock come back and do his thing with Cody or whatever. They could have done this at Bad Blood. They could have set it up much better. Instead, they put him in a weird match, Randy with Gunther. They put Cody in a weird match with his friend Kevin Owens, and both matches made 0 sense. And now at Bad Blood, you're just getting Cody thrown in with Roman. It makes no sense. It's not fun for the majority of us, and you know it. But they decided not to do it at Bad Blood. So now you're thinking, all right, well, you're not doing it at Survivor Series because Cody is going to be a part of War Games, you would think, right? He's already entrenched with this bloodline feud. He's already aligning himself with Roman Reigns, unless they somehow get Sami Zayn, bring back Jimmy Uso, get Jey Uso. So you have to get some Raw stars, right? Sami and Jey, bring back Jimmy, and maybe Cody's the odd man out. But Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton at Survivor Series. At that point, Bad Blood is October 5th, Survivor Series 1 month later. You only have 1 month of build for Randy and Cody. Is that really the best you can do for Randy and Cody? That's a lot of info getting chucked at you, I hear you. But you got to keep up with BC, man, because you got to think about this, because business has to be done correctly as we head into WrestleMania. It seems at this point you already did not do Bad Blood. That would be the only possible scenario. Randy and Cody is too big for an event that's going to be overshadowed by Hell in a Cell at Survivor Series. They can't be overshadowed. Bad Blood would have been Randy and Cody. You skipped it. Okay. Now it has to be Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, WrestleMania, and he's the only viable option to take the title at WrestleMania from Cody. It can't be Roman. All of this was just to give the title right back to Roman, the same guy that beat him. If Roman's going to get the title back, there's no question, but it can't be right back from Cody and do the same main event 3 years in a row. And at that point, they're both going to be faces anyway. And it can't be The Rock because he's going right back to Hollywood. Believe me when I say that. He'll do something for Netflix and for the whole roller coaster to Mania and Mania. And maybe he'll show up at the Raw after Mania. But he cannot win a title from Cody. It can't be about that. It's got to be Randy Orton. This is the time. The turn on Cody, the kick-ass, the badass, long feud from January to WrestleMania between Randy and Cody, and the culminating moment where Randy hoists up that title and becomes, I believe, a 15-time champion. He'll only be one behind Jonathan Cena and Ric Flair for the most title reigns ever. So this is huge for Randy. And that leads us to the question of how do you not do Roman Reigns and Cody, right? How do you hold off Roman from wanting that title back? How do you hold off from Rock and Cody? Because again, if that's done at Mania, it's clear it's going to be for the title. Rock shouldn't be going for the title against Cody. Last year against Roman and the title on the line, no harm, no foul. That match is big enough on its own, right? If things went the way they were supposed to and people didn't flip out that match was happening. And I was okay with Rock getting the title and then absolutely being annihilated to the point where the title is vacant at that point the next night on Raw because Bloodline was not having it and they annihilated The Rock. Or Roman just beats The Rock and keeps the title, whichever. But I was okay with Rock and Roman. Rock taking the title from Cody Rhodes is so odd because what's the avenue afterwards? You know he's going back to Hollywood, guys. He's not sticking around for an entire year. So you're going to have an ultra part-time Rock with the title? I don't see how that's the best way to utilize the championship, the WrestleMania main event, or anything going afterwards business-wise. That's what my problem is with Rock Cody for the title. And so where does that leave Randy? Randy has been bending over backwards for this company. Literally anything they ask for, he's doing it, and he's being a good soldier about it. At some point, you gotta give this guy the booking he has much more than earned by this point. You got to bring back that Viper, that legend killer. You got to make Randy Orton the guy, or at least one of the guys. Because right now, he's one of the guys in the mid-card. And that's with a main event with Gunther. That's just truth. That's how he feels. You can't leave Randy Orton out of this situation. It's got to be Cody and Randy at WrestleMania, because at this point, it ain't going to be Survivor Series being overshadowed by Hell in a Cell. It can't be a Royal Rumble being overshadowed by both Rumble matches and who knows what else. Mania's it. So that's the conversation on that. I know that was a lot of info. It's a lot of questions. It's a lot of like maneuvering for future booking, but that's how BC is thinking right now. And people aren't even realizing the next PLE is October 5th. We're right around the corner from WrestleMania season, guys. We're literally just a few months away from WrestleMania season. October, November, December. That's it. And then it's January before you know it. Snap of a finger, blink of an eye, drop of a hat. So this is what happens. The company isn't thinking about this. We have to, right? We plant those seeds, and hopefully the company can grow something amazing from those seeds. Let's move on. Charlie Flair. Charlie Flair, initial plans, or at least this is what we were hearing, was Charlie Flair was going to return at Bad Blood during the Bayley-Nia Jax matchup. And then plans got scrapped because what we're being told is she is not cleared yet, and she still has a ways to go. That is not what we heard just a few weeks ago. The whole time during her rehab, we were hearing she was ahead of schedule. She has said she is ahead of schedule. Her father has said, Ric Flair, she's ahead of schedule. And she's ready to rock. But supposedly, they're saying she is not cleared and there's still more rehab that needs to be done. And that's why the plans were scrapped. I see something a little bit larger at play here. I don't think they want to do this for a Survivor Series. So if Charlie Flair does not return at Bad Blood during the Nia Jax or after the Nia Jax Bayley matchup, we can pretty much come to the conclusion that this company is holding her off of the 2024 calendar in totality, and they're going to put her return inside the 30 women battle royal known as the Royal Rumble. And that is the one thing with Charlie Flair. Aside from just returning and winning the championship on the same day she returns, that's another big no. But that is one of the only absolute cannot happen situations for Charlie's return. That is one of the biggest things going against Charlie. Why a lot of fans cannot connect is that the company just puts the machine behind her and puts the blinders on with any fan feedback. They did it with Roman Reigns for 5 years until finally Roman and Heyman walked into Vince's office and said, we're going heel. We've done everything else. We want to do this. This is the only way this is going to work. Sure enough, they gave the green light to Roman, and that was the best version of Roman we've ever seen. And those like BC have been basically begging and pleading for the company to turn Roman, and you're going to get a better Roman, and it'll be better for business, and it'll be better for the fans. Finally, they did it. We were right the entire time. We got the best Roman Reigns. And they did it with Charlie Flair. They just put the machine, and they didn't care about half the audience not caring about Charlie. It's not working. There's no reaction. After an initial pop, because it's a return, fans start to turn on her. So then after 2 to 3 weeks, max, by the way, sometimes it was instantly, within 7 days, Charlie was turning heel on her own accord. Like, she'd hear boo, so the next week after coming back as a face, she would be kind of jabbing back at the audience, the live crowd, which was making her look like a heel. Because it's natural, because it's a defense mechanism. So within 1 week, she returns as a face, she's a heel before you know it. And then she goes back to a face because the company sees that it's not working as a heel either, and we repeat the process. Charlie Flair has been a face and a heel 84 times. Slight exaggeration, but only slight. One of the biggest reasons there's no connection is because it is clear the company is just doing the push with no regards to fan feedback. You have to change it up. The booking has to change. You can't have her debut or come back, win a title instantly, and think that the crowd, the majority of us, are going to go, yeah, it was amazing. She did it again. You can't have her show up as a surprise entrant in the Rumble because she's been gone for a year by that point. Throw everybody out and win the Royal Rumble and set up a Nia Jax Charlie Flair matchup. A matchup we've seen a bunch of times in the past, by the way. And that's your WrestleMania matchup for the Women's Championship. Another Charlie Nia match. The storyline, Queen versus Queen. Is that the best? I guess the company's going to say, hey, at least we did what you guys asked us not to do. She didn't just come back and win the title on the same night. It's not a Liv Morgan situation, what she did to her. Ronda Rousey situation, whatever it was. Listen, at least she came back, she won the Rumble, and she waited a couple months, and then she won the title at Mania. Why does it always have to be about the title? Bring her back in a massive storyline. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre are showing you that even in 2024, the storyline matters more than anything. The title should be like the cherry on top. Dangle that like a carrot in the story, but the story has to have definition to it. CM Punk and Drew are showing you that. It's the feud of the year, right? Up there with AEW and their Swerve Hangman feud. That has a title involved, but Drew and CM Punk is a feud of the year candidate easily, and they don't, they're fighting over a bracelet, guys. Last year when Roman was taking on whoever it was, the Cody situation and The Rock came back, all of that, guys, the Jey Uso feud with him and Roman, guys, the title was second fiddle. The tribal lay, that red tribal lay, Ualufa, whatever it's called, whatever that damn thing's called, that was more important, right? It was like, who's going to gain control of that Uba Luba? Whatever it is, right? The title was secondary. When a feud is good enough, when a storyline is riveting and captivating and entertaining to another level, the title should just kind of be an afterthought. I know that's wild, but you see, that's the title, man. That can't be an afterthought. But when business is done correct, it is an afterthought. Hogan and Slaughter, WrestleMania 7, man. That championship, that was second to the war that was going on. And Hogan defending the U.S. and Sergeant Slaughter turning his back on the U.S. That storyline was wild. A year later, Ric Flair and Macho Man Randy Savage for the championship. But the title was secondary. After what Ric Flair and that storyline with Miss Elizabeth, the wife of Macho Man, that storyline was next level, and you had to see them face each other at that pay-per-view, WrestleMania 8. The title was like the cherry on top, man. There's going to be a championship decided. Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, 25, didn't need a championship. That storyline, that was going to be the best match no matter what. One of the best, if not the best story for that time. Absolutely. So this is one of those things where Charlie Flair, can't you just keep her away from the championship for a damn minute? Just for a damn minute. She doesn't have to come back and win it instantly on the same night. Or come back and get an automatic title match issued for the 7 days from now, the next week. Or come back and win the Rumble, right? Everybody that's been busting their ass, all those females, they all get chucked over the top rope because Charlie's back. And Charlie gets the ticket, the golden ticket to WrestleMania. For what? How does that excite the fans? Charlie versus Nia again. Yay! Man, WrestleMania's shaping up big, man. They're going to do the rematch with Nia and Charlie. But now it's riveting because Nia's a queen now. It's the one thing they can't do, man. Two things they can't do with Charlie. Have her win a championship immediately and have her come back and win the Rumble immediately. Stop. Just put her in a damn good storyline. That's all we need. Her and Rhea Ripley, right? Doesn't need a title. That feud they had, just put them in the ring. They didn't need a championship. Not at all. Her and Becky, her and Mercedes, most of the time never needed a title. Just have them face each other. It's gonna be talked about. The best scenarios that I can possibly picture Charlie in actually had nothing to do with the title. Nothing. It's about the story, man. If you really want the fans to start to connect to Charlie, I'm not just talking about, obviously Charlotte, everyone has their own fans, but outside of just Charlotte's fans, if you want the majority to start to really take her seriously and care about what she's doing every week, then you got to meet everybody halfway. Book her differently. Just don't chuck championships on her left and right. And within 10 years, she's going to beat her father's record, because that's what you're telling us. She's already at 14 or 15 titles. She's right there with her father already, man. Naomi's been with the company longer. Naomi's been in that company longer. Some would say, BC included, that Naomi is even more athletic than Charlie Flair. Under no circumstances am I saying Charlotte is a better wrestler than Naomi. I won't do it. Just because she misses a moonsault every match or does natural selection, which is just a somersault. Yeah, have you seen what Naomi can do? And if you're going to say that Charlotte's better on the microphone, a lot of people would say she's very robotic on the microphone. It sounds the same every week, and that's why after 60 seconds, fans start to boo her, because it's already like lame. So she ain't that much better, if so. But Naomi's been there longer, by a year or two easily, and Naomi only has 2 championships. 2. Naomi has 2. Charlie has like 14, something like that. Including NXT titles as well, by the way. NXT Women's Championship. So, no, just stop. Stop. Deep breath, relax on just chucking Charlotte into the Royal Rumble victories or Queen of the Ring tournament winner or championships. Put her in a fun story. That's it. And in time, when you're doing business correctly and more fans are jumping on the Charlie Express, you know what? Let's start talking about titles again. Cool. But give it a break, man. Because if she is not a part of the 2024 calendar, then Royal Rumble is when she's going to come back. And if you think that Charlie's not going to win that, this company, man, the only bigger fan of Charlie than Vince McMahon was Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Hunter will book her to the moon way more than Vince ever did. They got to give it a break. And if you're a newer subscriber, if you're wondering why we call her Charlie Flair, that's not something we just made up. Becky Lynch made that up when they were in one of their promos with their long feud. Charlie calls Becky Lynch Bex, and Becky calls Charlotte Flair Charlie. So, Charles, it stuck, right? Bex and Charles. So, there you go. So, we call her Charlie Flair. That's not made up from the unit. We can't take credit for that, unfortunately. I would love to, though. But Becky Lynch made that one up. So, that's the Charlotte Flair discussion. I think that was good discussion, man. I know there's like hardcore Charlotte fans are like, BC, much love and respect, but no, we're going to be okay if Charlotte comes back and wins the title immediately. I hear you. As a fan, you're supposed to say that, right? I always tell you guys, I actually was a Jinder Mahal fan. Can't say that too often because that is a hot take and a half. But I liked Jinder Mahal. So when Jinder Mahal got that championship, I was probably one of the only people in the world that was like, yeah, quietly. He was like, yeah, go Jinder. The rest of the professional wrestling world had a meltdown and a half, man. You would have thought the wrestling world was burning. But if you're not like a big fan, then you see, like, this is just redundancy. It's not fun. Every time Charlie comes back and we just do the same thing. She's catapulted to the top spot, and here we go again. Everybody's got to be in Charlie's shadow. It doesn't have to be that way. She can still be a top star for the company. But just leave the avenues, the lanes, the highway to the titles, leave them open. There's no way to close some of those lanes. Give her a good storyline. Good discussion, guys. I think so anyway. Hopefully you guys think so as well. Should we go over to, real quick, before I go over to CM Punk's request for fans, another big female wrestler in the pro wrestling world that a lot of fans, I say a big name, but a lot of fans might have never even heard of her. So it's one of those catch-22s, right? It's a weird situation. She's a big name, but to a lot of people, they never heard of her. Tessa Blanchard. She's a really good professional wrestler, has the I'm not even just talking about move for move. I'm talking about the presence, the demeanor, the mannerisms, can carry a story, all those boxes that need to be checked off. Tessa Blanchard does such. But unfortunately, a lot of fans may have never heard of her because she's never had that big WWE run or a big AEW run even. Never been on that type of a stage, stateside. And a lot of fans think that's BS. It's a travesty. She should have already had that opportunity. If you guys are wondering a big reason why she hasn't, attitude. Same thing that Vince claimed they had to bring back Braun Strowman several times because of behavioral issues. Same reason you got Matt Riddle a part of the company, right? He was constantly being warned backstage. Tessa Blanchard, a lot of people feel like she disrespected a lot of other pro wrestlers' territories. And recently, Conan, if you guys remember Conan from WCW, he was recently at the Hall of Fame. Who was he inducted? Was it Rey Mysterio? I think he inducted. Then that was 2 years ago, wasn't it? I thought he was at this year's too. I think he was. I don't know. Anyway, Conan recently confirmed those stories. And alluded to the point of, not just alluded, I mean, some of this was verbatim. Conan says that when she was in Mexico, she was always late, it seemed anyway. Like she was in a tag team and they were showing up late constantly, almost all the time. Very late, very immature, and disrespectful. Immature and disrespectful in regards to when they were at like Gorilla. I guess Tessa would keep saying, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? In the States, we would do it this way, like always challenging or questioning Conan and how they were running segments or matchups. And Conan at one point had to tell her, like, this is not American wrestling. It's done differently here. Like, you have to educate yourself and stop being disrespectful, basically, because that's what Conan felt she was being. He used the word immature. Like, that's how she came across. And there's been a lot of stories about Tessa Blanchard and just a lot of individuals just not happy with her conduct. And that is some of the biggest reasons we heard report-wise why a company doesn't want to take the chance with her. And again, Conan this was just recent with Conan confirming this. His personal stories of dealing with Tessa Blanchard. So that's not the update, by the way. That's just... It's a little bit of backstory as to why it's unfortunate that a lot of people don't know the name Tessa Blanchard because she's so good. And we just talked about Charlie Flair. Charlie versus Tessa Blanchard? Are you kidding me? That's a wallet out, take any credit card situation. But the report is really her pops, Tully Blanchard. Tully recently said, because Tully is her father, for those, Tessa Blanchard, is she related to, yes, Tully Blanchard. Tully recently confirmed that she is a full-time student at the University of Texas San Antonio. First of all, congrats to Tessa. That's a big decision to make. That's a ballsy thing to do, man, to dedicate your time to a full-time, not part-time, full-time student at a big university like that. And that's huge. That shows you that I think Tessa is starting to think beyond wrestling. Now, I want to give a caveat, a little asterisk. Tully also said she is still wrestling, basically full-time as well. She's trying to juggle the two. But we all know how hard that is. Even Vicky Guerrero, who was not actually wrestling and only had to do select dates, like when she was GMing, even Vicky Guerrero said, like, when she was going back to her schooling. I think a lot of that was like online too, wasn't it? It was just the juggling was just too much. So I don't know how long Tessa's going to be able to juggle these two things. But it does show you, according to Tully and her going back to school, is Tessa already kind of saying, you know what? I'm not going to get that opportunity. I'm not going to get the chance. And the more the stories like Conan just came out with, like, am I going to get that chance? And she's thinking about her future. She went back to school. Hopefully get that diploma and get one of those, not just 9-to-5 jobs, but a career. Become a career woman. Hopefully make 6 figures plus. And, bet on yourself and not have to worry about Hunter Hearst Helmsley or Tony Khan giving you that call. I don't know. It's a big development. It's a big update for fans that know of Tessa and really were hoping she was going to debut with one of these companies. I don't see how that's possible in the imminent future for sure. Full-time student means she's there for a couple, 2-3 more years up front, right? So it's not like, unless that phone call comes and what does she do? Just put the schooling on the shelf so that she can do a run with the WWE or AEW? I guess it's possible. But a lot of people, when you start that schooling and it's full time, you want to knock it down. And if that's taking another bare minimum 2 to 3 years out of Tessa Blanchard for the future, what Tessa Blanchard would you get in 3 years? Anyway, that's an interesting I had a lot of coffee this morning. A lot of these topics, a lot of these discussions are just lengthy, right? They're thought-provoking. These are I love having these type of convos, man. Just, taking pro wrestling stories and really breaking them down. And it's interesting, especially if you know a lot about Tessa and you really were hoping Tessa was going to get a shot at the big time, or at least one of the 2 big companies here stateside. I don't know, man, but congratulations to her, man. Going back to school, doing her, betting on herself, and possibly looking past pro wrestling. As of now, she's trying to juggle both. We'll see how long that lasts. CM Punk recently asking fans, a sector of fans, to stop. Just stop. Not the first time CM Punk has asked fans that are like hanging out at airports to try to get the autograph to sell online and make some money off of. Not the first time that Punk has asked this. CM Punk says the following to fans. Friendly reminder. Again, this is CM Punk's quote. Friendly reminder to respect privacy and boundaries. Airports are not a meet and greet. If I have to ask you to please stop following multiple times, you've crossed the line. Please stop this. Thank you. And stop using your children as a shield or as an excuse. End quote. So it once again got to the point for Punk where it's like, stop. Like he looks at these people like sheer douchebags. It's not just like a fan bumping into Punk at the airport, right? They're about to go to like LA or whatever, right? Punk's going back to Chicago. Hey, CM Punk, what's up? Oh, I can't believe I bumped into you. Can I have your autograph and a pic? It's not like that, right? These are people that strategically planned it out to get that autograph, maybe even a pic, whatever, and sell it to make revenue off of it, right? So that's who Punk is talking about. And they do it for a lot of wrestlers. They wait at the airports and they act like they're just super fans and they have their kids. Oh, can little Billis get his autograph? And then the wrestler at that point, right, as aggravated and frustrated as they are, how can you turn down the little kid, right? Little Billis. Well, now it's gotten to the point where Punk is like, no, little Billis is going to get denied, rejected, das Boot. Sorry, not sorry, little Billis. Rhea Ripley flips out about this more than anybody. Rhea is like, dude, if you're at the airport, you're probably getting booted in the mug. If you ask me for anything at the airport, it ain't happening. But yeah, there's people that, they take these wrestlers and they try to make, it's a lot of sports. Wrestling is one of them. Football, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, CM, they try to get the autograph and then they can sell it to the local memorabilia store or online and try to make money off of it. And it's authentic, right? Because they get the picture with it. So that's like the seal of approval. So it's money. They can get money off of it. And Rhea Ripley flips out about this all the time. A lot of wrestlers do. But Rhea and CM Punk are the ones that have done it many times in the past. This is another one from Punk. And he is straight up saying, stop using your children as a shield or an excuse. So that is a request from Phillip Brooks, CM Punk. Not happy with a sector of fans. Are they really? They could be. Trying to make a buck. Anyway, AEW All Out still receiving a boatload. Not just a truckload, like a boatload of criticism. A boatload of backlash for the extreme violence that was on that show, especially between Mox attacking Danielson and the plastic bag and all that. The backlash is still heavy. I'm gonna get a swig of coffee, and I want to give you guys I'll give you guys a quote from Bischoff. I know, but you see, why would I mean, he's not going to like anything AEW does. But I'm going to give you that just to open up what Mercedes said about it. And why Bischoff, as much as you may disagree with what he says about AEW, because he's always bashing AEW, it seems. But Mercedes is kind of backing it up. And then I'll give you guys also a quote from Thunder Rosa, who is siding with the company and going, it might not be for you, but there is a fan base for it. So swig of coffee, I'll give you guys Bischoff, then we'll go Mercedes, and then we'll show you, you can hear Thunder Rosa's, and then we'll talk about it. All right, so this is what Bischoff said about the what is being deemed extreme violence at All Out. Bischoff says, and I quote, "It's just desperation. I do get it. I'm just searching for a different way to say it, and it's hard. But I just think creatively they're in a pit, and apparently the harder they're trying to dig out of it, the deeper the pit gets. This was garbage, in my opinion. It's not the kind of thing that you'll build an audience with. It's not the kind of thing you can build a business around. Look, I can't take AEW or anything they do seriously. They are what they are. They're going to be what they're going to be, which is a niche company. That is going to have its base of fans. It's going to always be a small percentage of the overall wrestling market, but they're going to have 100% control over that percentage of the market that loves that crazy hardcore stuff just for the sake of it. Good for them. If they can build a business and be successful in satisfying that percentage of the audience, then go with God and be successful. But I can't take it seriously because I don't think it's going to play. I don't care if they get 5 more renewals. I don't care if they get television on other sport cable outlets. All the rumors that I'm seeing, those are all good things, but it's not going to change the product. It's not going to grow the business, so hats off to them. So then Mercedes Moné spoke about this violence at All Out and in AEW, and of course Mercedes came from a totally different place. I always felt, I still feel like she's better suited for WWE. I just wish she was booked better and that they put her in the spot where they look at Charlotte Flair. It's like Charlotte Flair and everybody else is a long distance second. I don't know how you don't look at Sasha Banks that way, but Sasha Banks unfortunately had a ceiling in WWE, so we were going to see what AEW could do with her. But she comes from a totally different place, a different outlook. I don't feel that Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné was ever into the violent style of wrestling. So I'm not shocked that she left this statement. This is what Mercedes says, and I quote, "All Out was extremely violent, and honestly, Daniel Bryan's stuff was tough to watch. I have mixed emotions. When done right, that kind of stuff can tear a roof off, like Daniels did. However, I wouldn't want my brother Joshua to watch stuff like that, or kids for that matter." Time out, right? So right there, when she says, I wouldn't want kids to watch that, this is the company that she is contracted to. And she's saying, I wouldn't want kids to even watch that product. That's huge. I wouldn't want kids to watch for that matter. Let's face it, wrestling is multi-generational. When I do signings, I greet so many parents and their children. Growing up, I didn't have a father. So it especially warms my heart to meet families and hear how much their wrestling viewing experiences and memories mean to them. Then again, there is an audience that loves the extreme, and you want to cater to them too. So she does say at the end of that paragraph, she says, yes, there's an audience that loves it, and you want to try to cater to them too. But her thing is to see the families. And that's why I also say, like, she's more catered to kind of WWE, right? Where they want to tap into the kid market, drag the parents out. That's where record revenue is coming from, let's be honest. So, that's what she likes to see. That's what she likes to wrestle for. And she feels like she does not have to. In fact, she said that in the next, I don't have the exact quote, but she actually says that in like the next paragraph or 2 paragraphs later. She says, like, I'm at a point career-wise where I don't feel the need to, nor do I want to do that kind of style. She's at a point career-wise, but she was when she started, let's be honest. Somebody like Mercedes Moné absolutely does not have to and shouldn't be doing matches like that. There's no, she's too good. Meltzy will throw out 6 stars if she was wrestling a bag of oranges. That's Mercedes. So I'm not shocked that she's not a fan of that. A lot of talent had something to say about it, and a lot of it, surprisingly, they weren't throwing AEW under the bus, but a lot of the talent was kind of like caught off guard by it and said it was tough to watch, or they had to look away, or it just wasn't for them. They had to literally like turn it off. You heard just a lot of, that was surprising. Like a lot of people within AEW were like turned off by it. That I guess was more, that was more shocking than anything. You know, it's so hard to navigate this. Back in the day, we had ECW, and at the time, Raw and Nitro, who were going up against one another, right? They weren't doing things like that, right? ECW, and it drew you to it. And they built a successful business model around it. If Paul Heyman was a better businessman, and much respect to Paul Heyman, by the way, he admits this, all of his, from Tommy Dreamer to Bubba and everybody in between, Taz, Sandman, everybody will admit that just Paul Heyman just didn't have it business-wise. But if he was, maybe that could have sustained for years to come. But it absolutely had a successful business model because, like Eric Bischoff said, it had 100% of that niche. That's where you went for Extreme Championship Wrestling. And they had their niche, and it was feeding the beast, and ECW was big to the point where they were not competing necessarily with Raw and Nitro, WCW and WWF, respectively. Not competing necessarily, but they were being talked about as such. They were in the top three. They were the top three. But, just like Bischoff said, it's not sustainable in terms of growing the audience, and it didn't really do such. It really didn't. It had the niche. Slowly but surely, it would have some add-on viewership-wise, but for the most part, it wasn't in the same category or league as like Raw and Nitro. So it's just interesting because we kind of went through something like this a few decades ago, and now you're in a position where they're carving out this niche, and it's really cool to have that niche, right? That is finally what they've been claiming from day one, a true alternative. Well, that's a damn alternative, I'd say. If you're going to go that extreme route, that's an alternative. So you're going to have that niche on lockdown. On the flip side, you're going to have a hard time growing your company. Or it's going to take a hell of a lot longer to do such. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? So it's like, as an AEW fan, you want it to grow because you want to be able to compete and have people take you seriously and just grow, prosper, right? Everything, everybody, everything, every entity, they want to prosper, grow, be better. You don't want to just stay stagnant. So any fan, especially AEW fan, they want the company to grow, but at the same time, you want it to stay true to itself. You don't want to lose the alternative aspect. You don't want to lose the extreme factors that go into it and aspects. So it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. To grow it, we have to stop doing it. If we stop doing it, we lose the identity. I don't know. I guess the way to make the call is as long as it's not going backward, as long as you're not losing your niche, right? Because that's the problem. And that's what I think they were doing. When their niche was about 950 every week, they were pulling roughly 9 to 950,000. Now they're lucky if they get 700. So it's almost like going backwards. So that's the biggest issue. But I don't know how you guys feel about the extreme measurements that were put into All Out, but a lot of people in the industry felt some type of way. And just as we were about to wrap up this upload, a report just came out. Who is this? Ringside? I think this is coming from Ringside. And there is a report. This literally just came up as I finished up recording this upload for you guys. Ringside, I believe, told that Mercedes Moné is receiving special treatment backstage at AEW events, which may be causing friction within the locker room. Reportedly, Moné is accompanied by her own entourage at every show and has her own private locker room, a perk not extended to the rest of the roster. This preferential treatment appears to have rubbed some of her colleagues the wrong way. One of the most notable tensions backstage involves Britt Baker, who is said to have multiple issues behind the scenes with Mercedes Moné. being a major source of frustration. Additionally, it's been reported that Saraya has made her feelings about Moné clear, expressing her dislike for the former WWE star to others backstage. Sources suggest that backstage drama at AEW has become a regular occurrence, with conflicts between talent arising nearly every week. While not every issue becomes public, it's evident that tensions are simmering behind the scenes and the drama shows no signs of disappearing anytime soon. So you have Ringside News has learned that Saraya isn't apparently a fan of Mercedes, who has her own entourage and private locker room at every show. We have also been informed that Britt Baker is also having issues behind the scenes, with Mercedes Moné being a major source of frustration. So that's interesting. I mean, I'm not going to BS you guys, and you know this channel is founded upon like two individuals more than anything, Bray Wyatt and Sasha Banks. That's when I started this channel. Those were the two individuals that captivated BC. Bray Wyatt, Sasha Banks. They were just, every time they were on TV, they just captivated BC. So I hold Mercedes Moné in high regards on this channel. I put them up on a pedestal for sure, but I was hearing the same things. No BS. I was hearing that a lot of people are just not happy with Mercedes. And may I just say, man, she worked a contract out that she saw so many getting in WWE. Charlie Perks, Roman Perks, obviously Rock. And she saw that firsthand as well. But there was individuals where she's like, what about, I'm going out there having all these amazing matchups. I'm elevating everybody else with myself, not just me. Why don't I get any of this? So then she goes over to AEW and she has that opportunity to do it, and she took it. And Tony Khan was willing to give her everything and the kitchen sink. And that's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way, just like Mercedes was rubbed the wrong way to it in WWE when she saw it. Obviously, you get somebody like Brittany Baker, who's been there from the jump, and she ain't getting any of this. She wasn't treated like that. Now, you can go into talent, right? Well, where she's not of the level of Mercedes, you could say. So Brittany's not going to get that. You can absolutely have that argument. But the point is, she always prided herself on carrying the flag for the women. And here she sees this outsider, this WWEer come in, and it just backs up everything MJF said, basically, right? Like when CM Punk came in and got paid instantly more money and got everything handed to him, and here he is like, hello, I put the company on my back this last year plus. So a lot of the individuals are now looking at Mercedes and going, this is bull, man. Like, she got everything instantly. And it's created kind of a tumultuous situation backstage. And then Mercedes now writes this article once a week, and she says things like, I wouldn't want my kids watching this product. So I'm sure that's going to upset a lot of these individuals even more. But yes, I was hearing the same thing, that a lot of people are not happy with Mercedes, but I would just question, or have them answer the question, if they had the opportunity to get all of this money and all these perks, would you not take it? And why? You have no obligation to anybody else. A lot of these people you're meeting for the first time, and you've already put together your body of work. You put together a presentation that is worthy enough for somebody to hand you all this money and to hand you all these perks. More coffee, BC. But somebody believed in you enough. You could say, a lot of people are saying, no, was stupid enough, or just believed in her enough. No matter which side of the spectrum, what side of the fence you're on. Whether you think Tony was stupid for giving her all of that, or she had earned all of that, and somebody finally is giving her that respect. But my question would be, if somebody was offering you all of that, are you not going to take it for all of these people you don't even know, just so that they're happy? It's a question. But that would, if this ends up being true, and Brittany Baker is one that really just has this tension with Mercedes, that would explain why the matchup was so bad between Mercedes and Brittany Baker. And it just looked like Baker was just in slow-mo, or it just didn't seem like that was Baker. It was almost like it was purposeful. It was almost like when Thunder Rosa and Evilise were having their match live on Dynamite, and it came to a halt. They both just stopped selling. They both stopped being professional, and I love Evilise, but they both just stopped, and they kind of had their personal beef laid out right there in the ring. That's something you cannot do. It was almost like there was a few times I thought Britt Baker was in it, and I put I had nothing but praise for Britt Baker. That was the first time I saw her really just kind of drag ass. But that would explain why. You know, she didn't want Mercedes to look good, even if it's at the expense of her looking bad. So if this ends up being true, that would explain that. And with Saraya, there's history there. You guys remember Mercedes did that kick to the back. I think it was a live event. And it like did something to Saraya's neck. Almost put her out of action for good. And a lot of the fans blamed Mercedes for that, Sasha Banks. And Saraya never said that much about it afterwards to really defend Sasha Banks. Like, she didn't go out of her way to be like, guys, don't do that, stop, you know? I mean, she did talk about it a few times, didn't want to place the blame necessarily, but she left a lot open for interpretation, and a lot of people kept saying, Sasha did that. I watched it back. I didn't see I didn't see Sasha laying into that at all. I think it was just a little bit of a timing issue, and that happens in wrestling. That sucks. It's not like Ridge Holland dropping somebody on their dome piece. But, so that's a report, man. Just as we were wrapping up this upload, because I was going to tell you guys Thunder Rosa's response to the whole violence in AEW, and kind of Mercedes is saying, I wouldn't have my kids watch it. But Rosa had a different view. But this kind of takes precedent, and this has already gone too long. I'll tell you what, basically, I won't give you an exact quote, but Rosa was basically saying, I totally understand there's a part of the fan base that doesn't want to watch that, and they'll look away and turn the channel. But there is that part of the fan base that does want to see it, and we cannot just not cater to them. And she talked about how she really broke into AEW with matches like that, with, ironically, Britt Baker. But those kind of lights out type matchups and no DQs and the thumbtacks and all of that, like, she had some of those matches that really put her on the map to those that didn't know Thunder Rosa. So she's saying they hold a special place to her. So just because Mercedes is saying she doesn't want to have them, Thunder does, you know, because they are special. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean they're not meaningful to us or don't have their place. So two different sides there, Mercedes and Thunder, and how they look at it. But so that's another person that's kind of disagreeing with the philosophy of Mercedes. So I don't know. It sounds like Mercedes isn't making the most friends backstage, but she does have people she's very tight with, like Renee. I always say Renee Young, Renee Paquette. So, I don't know, man. I always want the best for Mercedes, but I also say the same for Britt Baker. If they ever have a match in the future, hopefully they let all the BS, put that aside, because I know they can put on a really good match. But with this type of tension and with this report coming out, doesn't sound too good, man. Mercedes is getting all the perks finally, but with those perks comes a lot of jealousy, a lot of envy, and a lot of pissed off people saying, why am I not getting that? And then they turn into supposed haters, and just... it's going to be more difficult for Mercedes to navigate, but I don't think she cares. She has her entourage. It says here she has her own private locker room, guys. Where was that? Yeah, entourage at every show and her own private locker room, a perk not extended to the rest of the roster. So she wants to make sure she's like the Brock Lesnar treatment, a ton of money, whoever she wants with her own locker room, don't bother me. And, you know, that's going to put a lot of people off. You could say she's earned it. I feel she has. But when you get all that, you're going to have a lot of people pretty pissed off because they're not getting it. Anyway, guys, that was a long upload. And I still want to go live before Raw tonight. And for the first half an hour, hopefully I might open that up to everybody to view and listen. But the chat will be open for my members only. So I can show appreciation for that hour. That whole hour, I can give my gold card channel member portion of the unit. I can give you guys the respect and the salute more than anything. The salute live that I always want you guys to know I give you. So That'll be later before Raw and for the first half an hour of Raw live. My channel members, let's do it. So that's going to do it for this upload. Again, that's a story that has broken. That's probably the top story too. I don't know. That might have to be the thumbnail and the headline. So people are clicking for the thumbnail and the headline. They probably had to wait the entire upload to get to the story. But that's because this whole upload was done without me knowing about this story. This just came out maybe 20 minutes ago. Interesting. I don't like to hear that stuff, especially when I respect these individuals. You want to believe everything's hunky-dory backstage. But I think Mercedes wants that Brock Lesnar treatment. Looks like Tony Khan gave it to her. And now a lot of people aren't too happy. Until next time, there will be that next time. Top guys, we're out. BC in the unit saying check you again when we go live later and for the rest of the week. There's not going to be a notice, 5-minute, 10-minute warning or countdown. No notification in that aspect. We're just going to go live. So you have to be subbed and notified. The tube will tell you the minute we're live, guys. Until next time, check you. Peace.